Leave me out of this. Leave me out of this.
It's Valentine's Day.
Mate.
We're in trouble as it is.
I know.
Let's go over to Jordan. He's a Chelsea fan. He joins us on the Sports Bar Weekend. How are we doing, Jordan, mate?
Cool,
Evening, guys. How you guys doing?
Yeah, they're laying it on. They're laying it on at the moment, mate.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be. No, but listen, right? I said it already. Chelsea, when they were flying high at the sort of beginning of the season and even before Christmas, they got a great squad. It's still a young team. It's a young team, and in fairness to Cundy, he always said they was never in a title race. What's changed at the moment, Jordan? Because since Christmas, it's not been good.
I think the two most key events that pretty much changed Chelsea's great fortune into bad fortune, I think, was the two back-to-back defeats. I think to Fulham and Ipswich. I think Chelsea, were less than 10 points behind Liverpool. I think had we had won those games back-to-back, I think Chelsea would be somewhere around 6 to 7 points within Liverpool, and within the space of 2 games, Chelsea were already double digits behind Liverpool. So something has happened. I think for me, my fear is that my two fears are Enzo Maresca and Cole Palmer. I think for Enzo Maresca, I think it's too many players. For me, it's just too much. I think the back four changes every week. The front three changes every week. There's no cohesion. There's no consistency with either or. The midfield, they look a bit flat. Even though they've got a big squad, but they lack quality in key areas. Key areas they lack quality. And
which areas do you think, Jordan, is the most important where you're lacking at the moment?
I think for me, there ain't enough consistency up front. There's potential in Nico Jackson.
Yeah.
There's potential in Nkunku, but it isn't consistent. If you look at Liverpool's front line, consistency across the board.
Yeah.
Arsenal, consistency. Man City, they're not doing great. We all know that, but they're consistent at times. But Chelsea, for me, my fear is that Cole Palmer's looking really average. I mean, I don't think Cole Palmer scored against the top 6 side this season. I could be wrong. I don't think he scored against the top 6 side. So Brighton, if you can't beat Brighton, then, teams like Newcastle, Bournemouth, City, who are not doing that great, are still right behind us. So, look, Chelsea are in a decent position, but it needs to change. I think other players now need to start stepping up. Enzo Maresca needs to put his foot down. Too many players need to stay at home. He needs his starting 11. He needs his role players. And they just need to just get a bit of consistency, a bit of run of form.
Yeah, you just mentioned Cole Palmer there not scoring about against the top 6 teams in the league, but he's carried that team. How many times he's dug you out of loads of holes, and look, he does need more support. He needs the other players to stand up. We can't just be on him all the time. He is that player though that can change the game around. I watched him against West Ham, and you just saw when he woke up, everything started to tick. But if you're gonna get the low energy, because it's a lot on his shoulders to be able to be that catalyst player, he needs help from other areas of the pitch to make sure that the load's just not on him.
But for me, it is your Carlton. I think other players, I do agree, other players need to step up. But the reality is, if Cole Palmer's going to be our main guy, it's all well and good. No disrespect to West Ham, no disrespect to Ipswich, Southampton, and other teams, Brentford, and etc. No disrespect to those teams, but where was Cole Palmer against Liverpool? Where was Cole Palmer against United? Where was Cole Palmer against Spurs? Where was Cole Palmer against Arsenal? Cole Palmer was nowhere to be seen. And for me, those games are all right and all. Don't get me wrong, that's great. It's great.
I'm going to have to interrupt you there, Jordan, quickly, because Hugh Woozencroft is with the Brighton manager, Fabian Hertzler, right now.
Fabian, congratulations. Tell us, what was key to that win?
Defense stability, togetherness, to defend in a low block, to be aggressive in a high block. I think this was key.
Adam Webster came into the heart of that defence tonight. How pleased were you with the way he performed in particular?
Very pleased, because he's always there for the team. He's a great leader on the pitch and beside the pitch. He showed a very good performance, especially against the ball, and that's what we demand from him. So we showed a great reaction and a great performance to him today, so I'm very happy for him.
From where we were sitting, the all-round performance was very good as well. The fight in midfield, the quality that you showed in attack, how happy were you with that?
Of course, especially for the second half. I think the first half we were too passive in the low block. After we made the first goal, we get too passive, and that's not how we want to play. And we suffered a little bit. But we changed it in the halftime, and especially for the second half, I'm happy because we showed character. We showed that we still play out with courage. That we don't only try to defend the result. It was about creating something, about dominating, controlling the game. So, and overall, it was a good performance. But we all know that there's still things to improve.
Brilliant goal from Kaoru Mitoma, match winner last weekend in the FA Cup as well. How happy are you he decided to stay at this club in January?
He never had the thought to leave the club. He was always fully committed, and he shows it day by day, week by week, that he really works hard. And it's also important for me to mention Bart Verbruggen, because in the end he makes the assist, and to show a reaction after the last weekend, to show a reaction like this is something special and shows his character.
Brighton have just tweeted Fabian Hürzeler, top manager. Do you feel you'll get some credit from Enzo Maresca after that?
I don't need credit. It's not about me. It's always about the success from the club. It's always about improving the players, try to help the players, and that's what I can promise to everyone, that I try to give my best every day together with my staff to get the most out of the team and to help the players to get their best version.
Big confidence booster, the last 2 games in fact. Have you shown in those matches just what you're capable of now, and a tilt at Europe is really capable?
I knew before to what we are capable of, and I think it's important now to understand the last 2 games, why things like this happen, especially the players. If you stick together, if you work hard in training, if you keep the standards high, if you push your limits, then we can do performances like we did today, and I think that's very important that the players understand this.
Brilliant, thank you.
That was talkSPORT's Hugh Rosencroft there with the Brighton manager.
Classy,
Fabian Hürzeler. He talks
classy.
well.
For such a young man, and he's controlling a Premier League team. He is a top manager. I just want to, if he's already started like this, what's it going to be the next 10, 15, 20 years for this guy? Like, he's unbelievable, world class.
Absolutely, and the thing is as well, I like the fact that Brighton is a mixture of like experienced players like Welbeck with the youth as well. I think he's got a real balance in that squad, isn't he?
Well, he's like, I was listening to Gary Neville before the kickoff, and he was interviewing Welbeck, and I looked at it and I thought, Gary didn't put Welbeck in that leadership role because obviously when you're coming through the ranks, but obviously when you get to a certain age and you're the experienced pro now, and some of these players, they look up to you, obviously. And if he is, and Welbeck's always seemed like a sound guy. He's got his head screwed on, and yeah, you would look to him to be one of the leaders and try and embrace that. And it looks like he's enjoying the role,
Yeah,
and that's where the manager has given him that confidence to go and do so. So the manager is obviously a people's man, and he's young and he's raring to go, and he's got the tactical nous as well. It's not just that he's got the players playing for him. He knows what to do in situations in the game.
Well, Veltman's older than him, and Webster's like the same age as him. So
it's mad, isn't it?
You know, he's got some experienced players in that side, and I think for me, you're looking at leaders on that pitch. There's leaders everywhere. Even Van Heck, he's a younger man, but I think he's a leader. He's someone who always steps up. I've been really impressed with Brighton, and I just think...
Not just that, like, you got to look at that as well. Look at Chelsea's team, and then look at Brighton's team. Not even the wage bill or how much the players got bought for, but you just look and you can see unity within the ranks and no ego.
Yeah, well, that's
where I think Chelsea are going wrong. There's a bit of ego creeping in, like to say we're Chelsea, we're this. You've got to humble yourself sometimes and just go back to the drawing board, work harder than the opposition team, and then maybe hopefully your quality will shine through.
Definitely. Let's go over to Paul. He's a Chelsea fan. He joins us on the show. Evening, Paul.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Obviously disappointing loss for you. You're still in the top 4.
Heartbreaking.
What do you think's gone wrong since Christmas time? Because of course it was, if you won, I think was it the Everton game? If they beat Everton, I think they ended up drawing. They would have went top of the league then. What's changed?
They've worked us out. Teams have worked us out. He's done the same thing last year with Leicester. They was running away with it.
Yeah, you're right, actually. And it was the same kind of point, Paul.
It doesn't change anything. What he does is change his personnel. We've got 6 wingers. It's like for like. So you bring a winger on because he's not playing that well. He's not doing what he should be doing. We just change things like for like all the time. He doesn't change the system. That's the problem. Brighton have gone away a couple of weeks ago, got smashed 7-0.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they've turned around, had a look at themselves and changed what they did when they got beat 7-0. We constantly keep the same formation and the same way of pattern of playing. As I say, we've got all these fantastic wingers and things like that, and they all do pretty much the same thing.
I think I agree with you there, mate. And I think it's a problem across the Premier League with managers, because managers got their own style of play now, right? And they say, I'm not navigating away from this style of play. A little bit like that in your gaff. Yeah. It's who we are, mate. It's a little bit like that. And I think that has become a trend to not navigate away from your what you do. And how you look like, how you see the game looking like. And I think
it's just who we are, mate.
Yeah, and you've got to look at...
Go on, mate. Last season, we didn't have a structure. Yeah. We looked good in places, done really well at certain times, but we didn't have a structure. So he's come in, he's give us that, but it's so strict that everyone's got to play to the same way. And we've gone halfway through the season and we've come unstuck. We haven't got a plan B. You take Palmer out of the game, we ain't got nothing. There's nothing there. All you've got to do is not man mark him, just take him out of the game, stop his possession of the ball going to him, and it nullifies Chelsea.
Yeah.
And one thing I've got to say before I get cut up or whatever, you talk about leaders. You're born a leader. You can't become a leader. If you become a leader, as you said about Welbeck, he's in his 30s. We can't wait 10 years for someone to turn up and say, do you know what, I'm in charge here. You've either got it in you or you ain't.
No, you've got a point.
You might not have to be the best player in the world. You might have less ability than anyone that you're playing against. But if you're a leader, you'll always outshine that person with the best skill and the best touch and the best whatever, because you're always there and you give 100% all the time. Your head don't go down, you pick people up. Sometimes you go, not silly, sounds really stupid, non-league football, Sunday morning football. You have people who's a shouter and a screamer and he gets people going. He's 18 stone and useless, but you end up winning games.
And you know what? Paul's absolutely right in talking about the changing of things if they're not going right. I'll never forget Conte's title win in Chelsea. They lost 3-0 to Arsenal at Wembley Emirates. Do you remember?
Yeah, of course.
And then he changed the system. And they didn't lose.
But that's what you're supposed to do. Look, if you've got identity, that's your identity. I get it. It's who you are, mate. I get it. But you have to have... But you have to have... Yeah, you have to have a plan B.
Yeah, agreed.
And you've got to be able to change the personnel and change it slightly just to make a difference. So there's a different outcome.
Agreed. You're listening to the Sports Bar on talkSPORT with talkSPORT Bet. Visit talksportbet.com today for the latest sign-up offers. 18 plus, be gamble aware.org. It was another nightmare for Chelsea supporters against Brighton on the South Coast. Give us a call at 03 717 22 344. You're listening to the Sports Bar Weekender with Majestic and Carlton Cole here on talkSPORT.
The Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Monday to Thursday nights from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.